So what I am saying is every tactic, as well as making sure we're touching people. I will spend a lot of time in the state of Texas. I have traveled this country, but I am going to be boots on the ground informing Texans.
Within just 7 minutes, Jasmine Crockett shifted the atmosphere in the room. With a loud bang, she dropped a worn black leather ledger onto the table. No one took a breath. Silence. In that book, the names of 12 missing girls aimed like afterthought freight concealed in the guest. List of Donald Trump's wedding in 1993. The gasps were quick. Trump smirked with a smug expression, but Jasmine didn't even blink. Her eyes were steady. She wasn't here to stare. She was here to uncover what had been purposefully hidden. And whatever was written on that final page was so serious that it brought silence to even Trump's most ardent supporters. Room 214 in the Capitol looked normal, polished wood, brass nameplates, C-SPAN cables running along the floor, but today it was something greater than that. It was a spark point, a single flash of a red tally light, and millions were glued to their TVs watching it all live. No editing, no censoring. Naked, unvarnished truth ringing out under cold, fluorescent lights. This was no run-of-the-mill hearing. This was a trapdoor creaking open under one of the most powerful names in modern-day American history. And Jasmine Crockett was not going quietly. She had the key. She did not come in with fanfare. No wave, no smile. Just the repeated click of heels on pavement, each stride the tick of a countdown clock. Jasmine hadn't been brought to perform. She'd been brought because something had emerged, something hidden for over 3 decades. The ledger from a wedding, from an evening clothed in glamour but now unfolding into scandal. A registry that had been removed from public record until now. Trump was already in place, tie perfect, arms crossed, looked smug. He told his aide something in a low voice and laughed. But the instant Jasmine set that book on the table, his gaze shifted. He knew it. They all did. The book wasn't flashy, merely old leather soft and worn smooth with time, creased along the spine. But it was there, and it drew the air from the room. Jasmine opened it with deliberate slowness. Page 1, gold cursive writing, guest registry, Trump wedding, Plaza Hotel, NYC, December 1993. And then the next page tie hand. Code. Names crossed through. Others completed with alphanumeric codes. E15, E16, E17. No last names. No ages. No addresses. Just codes. Representative Garcia leaned over next to her and whispered, "Is that real?" Jasmine did not say anything. Her eye settled on a single line in red letters. Palm Beach transfer. Below it, only the letter someone had tried to rub it out. But ink, like truth, clings. Trump leaned forward. The smile rubbed out. In a CN production van parked on the way, a producer leaned into her headset. "Don't cut away. Whatever happens, stay alive." For 32 years, this ledger was legend. Supposedly destroyed, lost. But now it shone in the lights of the Capitol. And Jasmine had not even uttered a word. This was not about what Trump had done. It was about what he had tried to hide. Finally, she spoke. Her voice firm, controlled, no anger, just truth. "Mr. Trump," she began, looking at him as if giving him one last chance. "Do you remember who sat next to Epstein at your wedding?" Trump breathed out and reclined. "I had 500 guests," he grinned. "I don't remember every cocktail napkin, much less who was where." Nervous laughter rustled behind him. But Jasmine didn't grin. She flipped the page. "This registry," she said, holding it up for the cameras, "isn't hotel. It's internal. Staff compiled. Annotated 3 days after the event." She pointed to the middle of the page. "You see these?" She asked. No names, no birthdays, just codes. E15, E16, E17. Trump waved her off with a snort. "Oh, come on. This again? What is this, a Netflix docudrama? You actually think I ran some trafficking ring at my wedding?" He leaned into the mic, voice thick with faked outrage. "This is pathetic," but Jasmine didn't back down. "No, Mr. Trump," she replied smoothly. "I'm not suggesting. I'm reading. And I'm asking." She pulled out a second document. The ink shimmered faintly, signed by a Plaza Hotel manager. A line item, entertainment staff, Palm Beach transfer, 12 entries. All female, all coded, all undocumented. The room shifted, chairs creaked. One aide behind Trump began tapping anxiously on their tablet, searching old legal memos, as if looking for a parachute. "These aren't servers," Jasmine continued. "Not florists. Not commodities. They're not assigned other labels." "Why?" Only here? Why counted like merchandise? She voiced low. Why were these girls labeled like machines? Trump's face twisted. He crossed his arms again, closer, more guardedly. No teasing now. She read the next page. E16, transferred to Epstein home, Palm Beach, December 20th, 1993. Her voice dropped. 3 days after your wedding. Not guesswork, handwritten note. She slid the page under the document camera. Now America could see it too. Letters, rather. Then names, codes instead of identities. Guests who had been cut down to inventory. Trump shook his head. You can't prove they were underage. You can't even prove they existed, he said, trying to laugh. This is fiction. Jasmine looked at her, then asked the question that froze the chamber. If they never existed, why did your staff document transfers for 12 girls, none of whom appear on any guest list? It didn't sound like a question. It sounded like an obituary. A final overwhelming truth. Someone mouthed it across the room. Trafficking. Jasmine didn't have to speak in a loud voice. She raised the stakes. Her finger danced over the codes like a prosecutor scripting her indictment. E16, E17, E18. Each one of these codes, she said slowly, appears on the internal list. Only on that one. Nowhere else. Nowhere in hotel documents. Nowhere in secret. Service records. Nowhere in media reports. Trump moved. His fingers tapped the table slow. Deliberate. The acting had ceased. Now silence. Jasmine flipped to the final page. 6 rushing words in frayed script. Transferred to Palm Beach. No record. She read them aloud, then passed it across the projector. The words packed the monitors in the rear of the room broadcast to millions. No comment. No report. Only 6 words echoing more loudly than any speech. Transferred to Palm Beach. No record. The mood changed. The room tightened like a fault line ready to break. Reporters were stuck. A Republican congressman picked up a pen, then hesitated whether to jot down notes. Or pray not stop typing, even Trump's staff had. The only sound left was 1 page of a notebook turning louder than the gavel fall. Jasmine slowly raised her eyes. Palm Beach, she said, thought the same place Epstein had his mansion. The same residence shut down testimony would later reveal as a holding cell for underage girls. She paused once more. Why would a New York wedding end with unaccounted guests deported to Florida by alias? Trump let a dry, forced, and hollow laugh sound. There's no proof they were even people, he declared. No birth certificates, no identification. Maybe it was some hotel executive's stupid way. Maybe it was fabricated. His tone became dark. Ever think about that? Jasmine didn't bat an eye. I have, she replied flatly. That's why we pulled staff logs. That's why we matched handwriting samples. She raised another sheet, folded into a clear evidence sleeve. And that's why we now have this a match. To an entry signed by Jeffrey Epstein himself. Same ink. Same handwriting. Same initials. The room wasn't just silent, it was evacuated, as though all the air had been sucked out. Trump shifted in his seat, jaw tense, eyes narrowing. You're building ghost stories out of a wedding and an old notebook, he said, voice trembling just beneath the surface. Jasmine leaned in, her voice sharpening. No, Mr. Trump, I was searching for 12 girls who were never supposed to be on a list because they were never supposed to be missed. It was a sentence that lingered in the air like smoke from an old extinguished flame. Then, staring directly into his eyes, she asked the question the whole country now was holding. It's breath to know. Why did these girls vanish from all the records, but yours? 10 agonizing seconds elapsed. No camera flashed. No chair creaked. A sound. A slow, creaking hinge. The side door opened as if the room itself fought against what was taking place. A woman stepped out mid-40s, tense shoulders, clenched fists at her sides. Her heels hit the marble reluctantly, as if each step cost her something. She didn't wear clothes for confidence. She wore clothes for memory. Her voice trembled in the air as the clerk read it aloud through the microphone. Maria Escobar. Jasmine watched her not with pride, but respectfully solemnly, as if some bystander watching history emerge from a tomb. Maria moved to the witness. Stand but did not sit until a staffer pushed the chair back for her gently. Her nod was jerky, her movement stiff, like a survivor relearning how to move again under 1,000 eyes. Her hands trembled just enough to be recorded. Representative Garcia moved in close. At the request of counsel, he said, Ms. Escobar will make a personal statement in non-oath, non-cross-examination format, as allowed by Clause 8.7 protective exemption on risk of retaliation. Another person came in from down the corridor, her lawyer, pallid, alert. His eyes scanned the room as though waiting for bullets. He placed a thin folder on the table in front of Maria and stepped back into the shadows. Trump spoke to his aide, but the mic caught nothing and the smile was wiped away. He did not blink. He did not laugh. He just stood there, never knowing what version of the past was going to seal in place forever. Maria didn't look up. Her eyes remained fixed on her hands as she unfolded the sheet. And when, after the silence, she finally spoke, she spoke softly. Read thin, but with determination. My name is Maria Escobar, she said to them. I was born in 1977. I was 16 years old when I was recruited to photograph the Trump wedding at the Plaza Hotel. December 1993. She paused, swallowed with difficulty, tapped the folder with quivering fingers. At least, that's what I was told. A chill of discomfort circulated around the room. Jasmine didn't stir. Cameras kept rolling. Maria spoke more slowly now. I wasn't staff, no uniform. Just a bunch of girls wearing white gowns who were told to smile and stand next to the men with cameras. A murmur circulated the press row. A reporter clattered her pen. Another spoke into a phone, very quietly. Trump shifted once more, evidently steeling himself. Maria grasped the edge of the table. Her voice broke once. He was there, Epstein, laughing. Trump stood next to him. Her mouth trembled. They said we were party favors. Her eyes were steely, and they did not say it like it was a joke. The room shuddered, as if a cold vent had been blown open. Maria finally glanced upwards for the first time, directly into the camera lens. I recall his voice. I recall the chandelier. I recall what we did when we went there. She turned, and in a deliberate act, made eye contact with Trump. And I recall who made me smile. No one moved. No one breathed. History had just walked into room 214, and it had a name. Maria didn't need leave to proceed. The room was hers. Already, her fingers cramped on the table, gripping tightly like against a gale. I was told I'd be serving drinks, she said. But there were no trays, no uniforms, no instruction. There were 10 of us, all girls, all young. One didn't speak English. She paused, drawing a deep breath. We were brought through the service entrance into a suite upstairs, roped off in gold. It looked staged, not like a hotel room. Like a showroom. Trump didn't budge, but his foot banged under the table just hard enough. Maria didn't relent. They called it the VIP lounge, she said. But no celebrities, no politicians, just Epstein. And Trump, he walked in like he owned the place. Maybe he did. Her tone wasn't loud, but it was no longer shaking. They told US to get in line, to smile, to walk in a circle slow. I remember the camera flashes. It was a disposable, maybe a Polaroid. I remember how Trump treated us, not as human beings. As a menu. Someone's faint gasp echoed down the back row. Someone shifted as if his own flesh repulsed him. One of the girls started to weep. Her name was Amira, I think. They took her out into the hallway. She never came back. Maria hesitated. Jaw was contorting. I never saw her again. Jasmine still hadn't moved. Her eyes, a warm spotlight, were still on him. Maria continued. Epstein invited me to dance. I declined. He said to me, smile better. Trump toasted with his glass in my direction. And then a slap, single. From the left side of the chamber, a lone congressman, shocked and appalled, broke. Protocol. The chairman banged the gavel. Order. We will maintain decorum. But the order was lost. This was no longer politics. This was something bigger. Maria spoke in close. Her voice became almost a whisper. When the party was over, I was told to stay behind. Her hands trembled again. Epstein had me brought downstairs, into a black car. Tinted windows, gloves on the driver. He did not speak. He drove me 2 blocks to a townhouse, locked from the inside. She took a breath. Then she dropped her bomb. I was E16. The words fell like a sledgehammer. I wasn't lost. I was kidnapped. Not a ghost. A girl in white. A ripple of gasps went through the room. The cameras caught it all, every expression, every shiver, every fracture. In the front row, Trump blinked, but said nothing. And then he snapped. Lies, he shouted. All of it lies. His voice ricocheted off marble. I don't know this woman. I've never seen her in my life. He slammed his palm on the table, shaking the mic, teeth clenched, wild-eyed. But Maria didn't move. Her voice was soft, but it did not shake. Her hands shook, but her eyes did not. She looked up at him, slowly, and for the first time she addressed him directly. "You recall me," she said. Her voice was soft, but absolute. "I remember the scent of your cologne." The room stopped. It wasn't loud, it wasn't angry. It was the sound of truth falling like a gavel. You could hear the breath slip out of room 214, but it wasn't due to shock this time. It was something different, something lasting. Trump sneered, trying to shake her with silence, but Maria didn't blink. "You leaned forward," she said. "You told me I looked like a movie star." I remember the glint of the camera, and the smell heavy like money and musk. Her voice broke on the last word, but her eyes never faltered. I was just 16 when the time arrived. The camera swiftly cut to Trump, face caught between fury and astonishment. On screens, E16 flared up the trending list, and Twitter exploded in a flashfire. Across the nation, in living rooms, hotel lounges, and phone screens, Maria's face rang out along with Trump's clenched jaw. Former staff, hotel employees, interns, many sat quietly, some with old memories long buried, others with shame they could never bury. Jasmine leaned in, her voice barely above a whisper, sharpened to a blade. "How many other girls remember that scent, Mr. Trump?" He was silent. He could not be. The question just lingered spinning in the air like smoke that wouldn't dissipate. And somewhere in the distance, far from the courtroom, someone watched. Someone who had also been in that suite. Someone who had not spoken. Until today. The stillness was shattered by the clerk's voice. "Next witness, Mr. Gregory Finch." At first, the name ran through the room without impact. But then, the door opened. And suddenly time warped. It slowed down. The man who entered the room limped. He was not weak, but his burden of years. His stance slumped minutely, jacket crisply tailored but battered, and in his hand he carried no ordinary folder, but a frayed leather portfolio locked with a battered brass clasp. Jasmine didn't blink. She glanced up once before her eyes dropped again to her notes. This did not call for melodrama. The name alone would carry the day, and Trump's rather instant lean forward bore witness to that already. He leaned forward as if he'd just seen a ghost walk into the courtroom. Then his voice tore across the room raw, desperate. He signed, "On NDA. This is illegal. This is an invasion." His fist thumped on the table, but Jasmine didn't even flinch. Her voice was still smooth, firm, amplified through the microphone. "That NDA ran out 31 days ago. Your attorneys failed to revive it under the amended disclosure. Gregory Finch was free to testify." "You should have read the fine print," she said, almost whispering. Gregory Finch made his way to the witness stand, slow and measured, like a fellow who'd buried a secret in the earth for 3 decades and finally decided it was time to let it breathe. His hands didn't waver at all as he raised them and placed the portfolio slowly, with a firm thud, on the floor. All the cameras turned toward him. "My name is Gregory Finch," he began, "official wedding photographer of Donald Trump and Marla Maples. December 1993, Plaza Hotel, New York." He unzipped the folder. The pages inside had yellowed to the color of old bones. "This," he showed, pushing a page into the projector, "is the internally cleared guest list of the event staff, not the public one. This one contains service codes and photo IDs." He turned a page. Trump shifted uncomfortably in his chair. Finch continued, unflappable. "This list includes a category entitled Entertainment Staff, Private, 12 names, all of them women. All of them marked by codes E15 through E26. All of them assigned a reference image. My job was to photograph them all." He unfolded. A faded photo. It slapped against the screen. Trump, mid-toast, arm in the air. Behind him, a haze of girls in white dresses. No smiles, no names, just empty eyes and smooth curls. One was marked in red marker. E16. The room ran out of air. Finch kept speaking. "I was told to take these photographs to a courier who was employed by Jeffrey Epstein." Aimed at the bed, a hush came over the room. I had witnessed installations such as this before, but not for employee surveillance. This was different. This was control, insurance. The eyes of Jasmine darkened. "Did you report it?" Finch shivered. "Who would I tell? Epstein wasn't the devil yet. And Trump? He was already untouchable." Legislators behind him squirmed. A congresswoman covered her mouth. Another scribbled frantically. Finch reclined. This wasn't just a wedding. It was a showroom, an auction house hung with lace and lies. His words lingered there, smoky and dense. Jasmine said nothing. She didn't need to. She rummaged through a red folder, removed one photo in a plastic sleeve, and fed it into the projector. The picture appeared on the screens, and the room came to a standstill. Trump half smiling, tuxedo creased, eyes lowered, and his hand on the bare shoulder of a girl in a white wedding gown. Her hair up, her eyes down. She was not older than 16. The red sash around her indisputable. E16. Trump's chair groaned back. His mouth fell open, but nothing came out. His face, once so red with fury but now ghostly pale. His shaking fingers grasped for power that was lost to him. Even his trademark smirk, the armor he wore through every controversy, was nowhere to be found. Jasmine spoke at last, her voice soft, measured. This photo was taken at 10:17 p.m. The timestamp matched the event logs submitted by Mr. Finch a few hours ago. She didn't even look at Trump as she continued. The name of the girl had never been on the guest list. But Jasmine tapped the ledger and continued. She's here, E16. Moved to Palm Beach 3 days later. No further record. Cell phones hummed like a hive along the press row. Reporters remained frozen. One breathed into a microphone. It's true. They just confirmed the photo. On the web, the photo was already spreading like wildfire. There were hashtags aplenty #E16, hashtag Palm Beach transfer, hashtag Trump wedding scandal. Trump's voice cracked as he tried to talk. That photo doesn't matter. He croaked. It's a hoax. It's a smear job. But Jasmine spun on her wheels and glared him in the face for the very first time. Then why did her records get sealed under your own private legal trust 6 months later? The room broke into murmurs. Aides snapped their folders shut. Cameras nudged each other. The chairman smashed the gavel once, twice. 10-minute recess, he ordered. Clear the chamber for reset and security review. Staff scrambled for the exits. Reporters circled the photo like moths to a screen. Trump didn't move. He sat stuck, staring at the girl in the photograph. His cufflink was tugged by his hand, but there was no bravado. The frozen image lingered on the screen, and someone grumbled over the press barrier. What else can be viewed on those negatives, Congressman Crockett? And the darker one, how far would they go in order to stop the rest from coming out? When the hearing resumed, the silence was not peaceful, it was charged. Room 214 was sharper, the air itself glassy. Staffers returned with pinched faces. Screens were blank, but the image of Trump's hand on the shoulder of E16 hung loose in each head. He sat differently now, no leaning back, no smugness. Just rigid stillness, fists half closed on the table. The lawyer spoke quietly, but he didn't speak. Eyes stared straight ahead, as if he could stop time by not moving in it. Jasmine took a step back to the mic, a newer folder in her hand, thicker, stamped red by the committee. Her voice was strong and stable. Before we proceed any further, the committee is introducing into evidence a set of legal documents secured from a former Trump Organization employee. She opened the folder in front of the document cam. 4 non-disclosure agreements to December 1993 to February 1994. These are not wedding vendors' contracts, she said. They're instruments of repression, designed so that no pictures, tape recordings, or names of visitors from that night ever got out. There were murmurs throughout the room as the first page was revealed. No theatrics. Simple black words. One signature, Donald J. Trump. Jasmine placed her finger on the highlighted section. Clause 6B. She read it out loud. Destruction of visual records. All video or photography of private guests or permitted entertainment shall be destroyed. Within 24 months from the date of the event, or as otherwise directed. The room was silent for a moment. Then she continued. 2 of these NDAs were signed by event planners, one by the catering director, and this one, she turned the final page, by Gregory Finch, the official photographer. Trump grimaced. Undefined Finch leaned in towards his mic. I signed it, he recounted. They paid me to forget. But I didn't. I couldn't. His tone was burdened. You don't forget girls being told to turn, smile, coming closer. You don't forget those who are too afraid to move. And you don't forget the man laughing with Epstein, with the flashbulbs popping. He reached into his jacket and pulled out another picture. Jasmine held it and placed it under the projector. Same suite. Same mirror. But this time, the mirror's reflection revealed a camera focused on the bed. The room breathed more deeply than ever. Jasmine asked, Mr. Finch, did you realize that failing to destroy these photographs violated a federal agreement? I did, he said. But I also knew that I possessed the only proof those girls existed. I'd rather be sued than keep silent. Nobody moved. Even the camera seemed glued. The chairman spoke to her. What else is on those negatives? Congressman Crockett. And the bigger question hung in the air. How far would they go to keep it from being shown? The hearing had barely picked up again when Maria Escobar was escorted back to the witness stand. Her shoulders were more taut now, her face pale. She clutched her phone as if it was all that held her together. Jasmine picked up on it immediately. She crouched forward. Miss Escobar, is there something you'd like to say to this committee? Maria hesitated. The camera moved in close. The tension hung in the air. Then Maria placed her phone down on the table, the screen facing outwards. This came in at 12:13 a.m. No one's name. No one sent it. 3 words. She pressed the screen. Projected onto every screen in the room and into living rooms across the nation were the letters, retract or disappear. The room exploded. Thunder rumbling beneath marble. Jasmine clenched her jaw. Reporters scrambled to get the shot. Phones lit up. One of them caught breath. They're intimidating a witness on live television. Maria's voice was shaking, but firm. I thought it was a troll. Then the second message arrived. It continued. We know where you were in 1993. We know where you are now. She looked at Jasmine, terror-stricken. Jasmine addressed the chairman. Mr. Chairman, I seek immediate protective measures for Ms. Escobar and her legal team. I also seek emergency referral to federal security services to track these threats. She paused, her tone somber. Because if they're threatening her, they're threatening us all. Trump remained silent, but the icy stare he shot across the room was calculated. The chairman nodded. Motion granted. Sergeant at Arms, coordinate with Capitol Police and DHS. Outside, the internet erupted. Twitter trended worldwide within minutes. #girls of 93. Coffee shop screens, living room screens, newsroom screens glowed with Maria holding her phone. Reaction was live streamed. Some cried. Others seethed. One of them posted, if she goes missing, we riot. Another, it isn't a trial. It's a warning for every survivor who stays quiet. Jasmine sat in silence in the room. But inside, she burned. She bent close to Maria and whispered, You're not alone. Not this time. Maria nodded slightly, though her hands still trembled. And finally, viewers at home were just bystanders. They were taking a side. This was not politics anymore. It was not safety anymore. It was memory. It was justice. And outside those hearing room walls of someone waited. Observe the hurricane they had attempted to stifle grow into a tide no one could check. The question was not the same. It was no longer who commanded the threat. It was, what are the secrets so dangerous they'd threaten a woman alive on the air? Trump lost control. The swagger in his voice collapsed. Bravado gave way to panic, thinly disguised as defiance. Mr. Chairman, he exclaimed, slamming the table. This is a circus. A hit job by radicals. He scanned the room, locking eyes with Jasmine for an instant. She did not blink. I formally move that all photographic evidence, all of this woman's testimony, and all documents offered into evidence be stricken from the record. The chairman's face was unreadable. The camera came in close. Jasmine slowly rose to her feet. She didn't wait for leave. She turned not only to the chairman, but to the nation. Her voice was soft, but every word struck like thunder. This is not a plea for fairness, she said. It's a call to erase. That is the game men like Mr. Trump have played for decades. She then swiveled slightly into the cameras, eyeing 50 million Americans straight in the eye. Power can delay truth, she said, but it cannot erase it. And now, the truth is on television? Trump's mouth opened to interrupt her, but he was unable to make a sound. His fists were still clenched. Sweat dripped on his forehead. The smirk? Gone? That signature swagger? Dissolved into something primal? Something close to terror? Jasmine went on. These aren't allegations. They're names, documents, photos, witnesses, a timeline, a paper trail gathered by Trump's own people. She addressed the chairman. Strike that from the record. Then strike the entire nation's memory. Because they've already witnessed it. Cameras captured the moment. Jasmine standing tall, eyes ablaze, and Trump slumped, defeated, as if knocked off balance by the wind. On the streets outside, the internet blew up. What had started as a storm became a tsunami. Journalists were no longer just writing the news, they were investigating. Analysts pored over the pictures. Cyber detectives scoured through staff records. One tech blogger posted on Twitter, if there was a pinhole camera in that mirror, then maybe video. That single post shut down the internet. In the hearing room, Jasmine let the pause breathe, and then she landed the punch that blew the silence. Wide open. The question, she said, slowing her turn to Trump, isn't if you can deny what's already been seen. Her tone was even. Last, actual question is, what do we do when we find it? The chairman leaned back in his chair. Screen flashed. Around the country, jaws dropped, hearts pounded. The silence inside that room wasn't just heavy, it was historic. Even the crunch of paper had stopped, as if the walls were breathing in unison. Gregory Finch leaned forward and spoke softly to Jasmine. She nodded, and then reached slowly, cautiously, for the red-stamped evidence envelope. She pulled out one thing, a black VH tape, worn masking tape. Handwritten label, Doctic 17 to 1993, Cam 3, VIP East. She handled it like it was hot. The technician, white gloves on, ran the tape into a converter rig connected to a flat-screen monitor. Nobody said a word. Not Jasmine. Not the chairman. Even Trump stood still, nervously shuddering, sensing the vibration before the shake. The screen began to flicker. Static. Then sound. Footsteps. Clinking wine glasses. Laughter. Reluctantly, the picture came into focus. A ballroom. Chandeliers. Of gold hung suspended like frozen lightning. Extravagance all around. At center of the shot, Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. Together, eyebrows raised, laughing. Epstein moved closer to Trump. The mic picked up his voice. Palm Beach is going to love her. He nudged Trump, who grinned and replied, already told. My guy. Flight's Monday. The feed remained intact. The film did not shatter. But whatever in America was holding back, it yielded. The camera leaned, just slightly, and then she was there. A girl. Just 14, in white, standing alone by the wall. Her hands clasped, her eyes empty. A man leaned in, gently rubbed her chin, shoved her onto the dance floor. She did not struggle. She did not move. And then Trump came back into view. He bent down, whispered something. She flinched. He erupted into laughter and walked away. Quiet was broken. Trump ripped off his headphones. This is entrapment. He yelled, his voice shaking. That tape is fake. CG. I was never there. His arms flailed as he pointed at the screen. She could be anyone. Jasmine didn't even blink. She reached for the remote, paused the frame, and zoomed in. There it was, Trump's smiling face, inches from the girl. His hand resting on her back. Audio faint, but clear. Don't worry, sweetheart. You like Florida? Trump slammed both hands on the desk. Enough. The chairman slammed the gavel. Another outburst, Mr. Trump, and you will be ejected. But outside, the damage was already inflicted. The clip had gone everywhere. All social sites. All networks. Raw. Unedited. Americans sat in disbelief. Some in outrage. Others in tears. Jasmine stared at the frozen picture on screen. This isn't testimony, she said. It's memory. Captured. The technician held on to the second reel. Cam 3? Sweet mirror. But the feed never returned. CNN broke for commercial. Then MSNBC. Then C-SPAN. Black screen. And that's when America got on. They were never supposed to see what came next. A car insurance advertisement filled the space. Then cheerful actors. Stock music. No one was watching. Major news sources had cut the feed due to pending legal review. It was a setup. Like someone hit a panic button. But America wasn't letting go. Thousands were already recording the footage. TikTok, Twitter, Facebook live. Hashtag surged. Hashtag Trump Epstein tapes. Hashtag sweet mirror. Hashtag girls of 9-3. Within the hour, one line had been quoted over 5 million times. Don't worry, sweetheart. You'll like Florida. Viewers uploaded the uncut clip, labeling it. They tried to hide this. Don't let them. Back in the hearing room, Jasmine stayed silent. She didn't need to speak. The country was speaking for her now. In the street, crowds gathered. Red markers scribbled signs. E16? And if there's nothing to hide, why turn off the cameras? Then the message came. A clerk rushed up to Representative Garcia, whispered something into his ear, passed a printed sheet of paper to Jasmine. She read it once, then again, then laid it out flat on her desk. It was an affidavit, voluntary, under penalty of perjury. Subject: Donald Trump's request to see underage model portfolio. February 1996. It was like gasoline on fire. A one-time Victoria's Secret casting aide, mother of 2 now in Colorado, called an elite gathering at a Manhattan hotel. Trump? Epstein. A model executive. She'd brought the books. She'd seen Trump dig through images of girls as young as 13. She remembered his exact words. Do they do private work or just runway? The room didn't explode. It collapsed. No words were spoken. They didn't need to be. Jasmine held the words in sight. Spoke nothing. Slumped back. Silence. Once again, more powerful than anger. Outside, phones lit up the night. Screens raised aloft like candles, not in protest but in witness, as if their very presence could keep this truth afloat. And in that ocean of faces, somebody hit send. One final file. One secret recording. For if this was what had been kept secret for 30 years, what else remained in the ground? The hearing room was still echoing with the chaos. Jasmine opened the ledger again, hesitantly. She flipped past pages the world had already seen. Past E16. Past the codes now in the national memory. She came to one page. Paper clipped? Saved. Page 27. She addressed the chairman. He did. She placed the page beneath the document cam. Another name showed up. Not a number. Not a code. A name known across the world. Ivanka Trump. Typed in block letters. Not in the guest list. Not under staff. No. Under. One evil line. Companion of E15. Undefined assigned seating. VIP table 3. Private escort detail confirmed. The room froze. Trump leapt from his seat. Unhinged. Undefined. Shut it down. Undefined, he screamed. Undefined. Strike that from the record. Undefined, she was a child. Undefined, Jasmine didn't raise her voice. Undefined, she didn't even look up. Undefined, she was 14. She said undefined, razor thin tone, undefined, ice dash, cold. Her voice didn't crack. Her hands didn't either. Del Takahashi, 15, entertainment. Staffy 17. There was a gasp in the back rows. Jasmine kept going. Charlotte Rowe, 16, went missing 2 days after the ceremony. One by one, she read the names. 12 girls who were on the edges of a powerful man's guest list. 12 girls who'd become symbols, footnotes, ghosts. Now, Jasmine resurrected them with words. Tanya Lopez, Megan Lynn, Alacia Ward, each syllable an accounting. Each name a hammer breaking the stone wall of silence that had sheltered monsters. For decades, even the court reporter stopped typing. She just sat, tears silently welling beneath her glasses. When Jasmine finished, she lifted her eyes, not to the committee, but to the nation. They were never afforded the opportunity to speak for themselves, she said. So I did, and I do. Until the day this system learns to no longer equate wealth with innocence. I will say their names over and over again until silence no longer deafens the truth. A gasp came from a woman in the gallery, hand to her mouth. An older black man in a uniform suit placed his hand over his heart. Reporters outside the room dropped microphones, not by accident, but in shocked respect. Somewhere in sealed doors at Mar-a-Lago, Donald Trump by himself in front of a television couldn't change the channels. Jasmine did not cry, did not bow. She simply handed back the folder and backed away from the mic with a silence that commanded the entire room to remain standing. For the first time in 30 years, the names they tried to bury stood together, unforgotten. The doors of Congress had barely closed before America opened its heart. Just 12 minutes after Jasmine had completed her reading, CNN broke into programming to announce a hotline for survivors. Witnesses, anyone still bearing memories they had been instructed to forget. There were over 500 calls within 2 hours. A woman in Nevada cried out, I don't know if anyone still believes me, but I remember those rooms. A man in Florida whispered, I was the one who cleaned the mirrors. Twitter erupted. #justice. 493 went viral. Politicians and reporters and students, everyone was saying the same thing. No more silence. The clip of Jasmine standing tall in the hearing room, voice steady and unbreakable, had 23 million views by nightfall. It was reposted by someone with the caption echoing nationwide. We failed them once. Not again. As the sun set on the Capitol, candlelight bloomed on the steps. No organizer, no official invitation. People just came. With their children, their grief, their hand-painted signs, my daughter matters. They were children, not collateral. Medical students came in their white coats and stood in silence for 93 minutes. No speeches. Just flame. Just truth. Church bells tolled 12 times in Chicago, one for each of the names. A football field in Los Angeles was converted into a memorial, blanketed with rose petals and photographs. Local television stations abandoned commercials to air the names out loud. No sponsors underwrote it. No writers scripted it. Only subdued. Understanding this was long overdue. A mother embraced her television in a Texas home as her daughter's name finally scrolled across CNN after 32 years of silence. She had no words, just put her hand on the glass, crying. The country was no longer seated. It was now standing. The corridors of Capitol Hill emptied. Security guards spoke in hushed tones to each other. Reporters took down cameras, the lights going dark. But Jasmine Crockett sat alone, seated beneath a marble bust of Lincoln on a wooden bench. She stared ahead, her hands clasped still, her eyes heavy but unbroken. A staffer passed by, stopped. To say something, then thought better of it. The silence around her wasn't tenuous, it was earned. The kind of silence that follows thunder, that follows truth. 12 names. That's all she read. But those names echoed through 3 decades of denial, 3 generations of secret trauma, and the gradual agonizing turn of a nation recalling what it was instructed to forget. She went into that hearing bearing documents, but left beneath the burden of ghosts, not those 12 girls alone, but the silence of all those who never found their way onto paper. Her voice was not loud. It did not need to be. America had already leaned in. The video, the interviews, the photos, they might make headlines. But what was left in millions of minds was one woman standing still while an empire trembled. As the last camera crew shoved equipment toward the door, one of them turned to glance back. In the dying corridor light, through the glass, Jasmine was aglow, still erect, still unmoved. She wasn't waiting for applause. There would be none, only history. Somewhere in an Indiana farmhouse, a young girl had asked her grandmother, "Who is she?" The old woman wiped at her eyes and said, "That's the one who said their names." For justice doesn't always come with applause. Sometimes it comes with scars. Sometimes with silence. And sometimes alone with one woman under marble pillars of power courageous enough to speak names no one else would. And everything changes. Ivanka was quiet. Trump screamed. But Jasmine stood, reading the names of 12 forgotten girls beneath the Capitol dome while a nation watched. She wasn't a hero. She was just the only one courageous enough not to turn away. If there's a truth surrounding you, will you be silent like Ivanka, scream like Trump, or rise up like Jasmine? Tell us what you believe. Maybe your voice is the one that will finally break the silence. If this story moved you, don't just scroll away. Like, share, and subscribe to Dot, where secret names come out and truth finally speaks. Tap the bell. The following story might not only uncover a secret, it might awaken a nation. What's the name? What's the moment you'll never forget? Post a comment. Do not allow silence to write history. This dramatized story is rooted in real struggles and real people. All characters and dialogue are fictionalized for commentary and education and are not intended to defame or mislead, but to provoke thought and civic consciousness. Thank you for viewing. Truth never disappears. It remains silent until a person musters the courage to speak. That will that person be you.